Hi, Tom from bknutrition.com, and in this video you're going to learn how to start your body transformation with implementing only very small changes in order to get big results. Now, a little story from my history. When I was about 14, 15, I walked into my first gym. My dad bought me my membership. I wanted to get bigger and stronger because I just competed in the national finals at the regional finals at the jiu-jitsu martial arts event, and I actually didn't win. I think I got something like third or fourth or something like that, and the reason I didn't do too well is because my fitness was not very good. I was really tired, and I just literally couldn't stand up. I couldn't fight. So I wanted to get bigger, stronger, and have more endurance. So my dad got me a membership to this bodybuilding gym. And originally I went to the gym in order to build up my strength and fitness for fighting, for competitive fighting. And actually when I was in the gym training, there was a lot of big guys there, a lot of big bodybuilders, and I really got interested in how to build my muscles up. And I always wanted to be a little bit like He-Man and stuff like that. That's the sort of cartoons I grew up with when I was a kid. And here's was like an opportunity to get like that. Obviously, being 14, 15, I didn't know about all the other things that have to be in place to build that sort of size physique. But the guys in the gym, the big guys, I spoke to them about how to start, how to build my muscles up, and the advice they gave me was something that I took away, and actually I've applied to pretty much every client I started working with, and that is to implement the smallest possible change you can in order to move yourself towards the goal. Now, when they were talking to me, they were talking about training to failure, lifting weights, that sort of thing. But they were very, very clear about when I started lifting weights, not to go too fast, not to go too heavy, be controlling of what I'm doing, learn the technique, and then build on that. And that's something I've carried through for my whole life. Now, whenever I try and undertake a new task, I never start trying to run before I can walk. I've always thought about what's the minimum I can do to move myself towards that. And there's a little phrase I sort of go by, which is, if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing. And this actually came up in the recent Shang-Chi film when I was watching it, and I was like, oh, that's one of my favorite quotes. And what it means is that in order to accomplish a task, in order to accomplish a big task, such as, say, losing 30 kilos of body fat or gaining a couple of kilos of muscle, you have to aim for the minimum possible achievement you can get in order to start that process off. Because you're not going to lose 30 kilos in 2 weeks. You're not going to gain 2 or 3 kilos of muscle in 2 weeks. You have to think about, right, how can I lose 500 grams or a kilo of body fat? How can I gain 500 grams or whatever of muscle? Because muscle does come on at a very slow rate compared to body fat loss. And if you can achieve that small thing, well, the systems you've built to achieve that small thing, you can then build on. And I'm very big on talking about getting the systems in place, like your core processing of whatever thing you want to build before you then start doing all the other things. And this is one of my 6 principles that I use, which is incredible acts start with small actions. And all this ties in together in the fact that some people, or most people I should say, never achieve their goals, their long-term goals, because they're always trying to achieve that goal without building the systems first. And this is really, really important, because there's a lot of internet gurus and people selling fat loss programs and selling shredded quick programs or get big programs. And it's all focused on how much they can get you in such a short space of time. Now, I have done those sorts of things before in terms of help people lose a lot of body fat in a lot of space of time, but I've come away from that now because I realized that actually by doing that, yes, I got results for the clients, but long-term results, it wasn't great, because although I was always very helpful and educational for my clients, losing body fat and getting fast results very, very quickly is great for how they feel and everything else. But actually, a lot of the time, they then start to push those envelopes a bit harder. And I've talked about this in previous videos, where if you push the envelope too hard, what actually tends to happen is the body fights back quite a bit, and it tends to make things a lot harder for you, and a lot of people rebound the other way. And this is quite common in these like sort of real sort of get shred quick pro or 6-week shred programs or anything else. People do get results very quickly because they do this again, what's called prison diets, where they're very restrictive of what they're eating. They do over the amount of cardio or over the amount of exercise they should be doing. And then what happens is they can't sustain that for a long period of time because they haven't built those systems up in order to, say, do 20 minutes of cardio before they want to do an hour's cardio, or lifting 5 kilos before they try and lift 10 kilos, or going to the gym once a week, or they're trying to do like 5 times a week right from the start, and they tend up burning themselves out very quickly. So when we talk about aim at nothing, hit nothing, what most people do is they see this massive goal that they're looking for, say lose 30 kilos, whatever. And because that seems such a gargantuan task, and the fact that they probably tried to accomplish it a few times by doing some of these sort of shred programs or fast results programs, and they've ended up failing and gaining all that weight back again, or just looking worse, they tend to see this as an impossible goal. How can I possibly achieve that goal? I've tried to do it with all these fast programs, I've got results, and then it's rebounded on me very quickly. And the reason is because they've aimed too high. And because they've aimed too high, they're not going to hit that target. It's out of their reach, it's out of their range. But what is within their range is to do a very small task first. So say, for example, someone comes to me who's very overweight, wants to get into the gym, wants to eat healthier. Now, if you have 30 kilos of body fat to lose, I would take a real sort of a positive, very safe bet on the fact that there's probably a few things wrong in your lifestyle, in your exercise habits, in your eating habits. There's probably a lot there that needs changing. And you know, generally people know this. They don't come to me and go, oh, I don't know why I'm 30 kilos of body fat. I don't know why that's happening. You know, they do know that they're overeating calories. They're eating the wrong foods. They're not exercising enough. But because all those things are massive tasks which they want to change, they're not sure where to start. So what we do instead, we look at very small things we can change. So for example, if they don't exercise at all, but they want to start going to the gym, instead of saying, all right, let's get started, let's sort of smash up the gym, start from the start, because that's generally going to end up in tears or like really aching body. What I generally tend to say is, well, let's go to the gym for 5 minutes a day. And the reason for this is you're not really going to accomplish anything in 5 minutes. However, because you've got to divert yourself from your normal daily activity to go to the gym, you're then laying those systems where I'm diverting from, say, my ride home or my ride to work or whatever, or I get up a little bit earlier to go to the gym before work. If you get them to go to the gym for 5 minutes, or if you go to the gym for 5 minutes, I should say, you've diverted your course of action and you're starting to lay those little paths in your brain that I am someone who goes to the gym. And what I've done very successfully with a couple of clients is that they were afraid to go to the gym, because a lot of overweight people are afraid to the gym. If you're overweight, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, you probably are maybe fearful of going to the gym as to what people will think of you, because you're a stranger in this environment. So what I say to them is, go to the gym, don't train or anything else, just sit down, ask the staff there, can I sit down, can I have a coffee, can I just get in the environment? You know, most gyms will say yes to that. I mean, I definitely would. If anybody walked into my gym and said, oh, I'm just a little bit mindful of going to the gym, do you mind if I sit down and have a coffee? I'll be absolutely, sit down, have a coffee, anything we can help you out with, because what they're trying to do is trying to acclimatize themselves to that environment, that they are a gym goer. Now, once they've gone to the gym a few times, had a coffee, sat down, you know, said hello to people, start being involved in that community, then the next time they can come for 10 minutes. And they sit down for 5 minutes, might go for a 5-minute walk on the treadmill and then go. And the next time they come in for 15 minutes. And you see where this is going. If we hadn't done the initial 5 minutes of, I'm just going to go to the gym and say hello and make sure I'm part of that community. If we'd gone straight in and done 40 minutes, you'd have all those things milling around in your head of, what's this place? What's this new place? Who are these people here? They don't know me. I'm an outsider. Instead, you've laid that foundation right at the beginning. You've gone for 5 minutes and people start to see you there. They start to say hi and you start to become part of the community. And then it's very easy to stay there longer because you're part of that community. You're part of that environment of people who are looking to improve their health and fitness. It doesn't matter that you've got 30 kilos to lose, because everybody starts somewhere. And everybody in the gym has been in the position where they wanted to improve their body. It doesn't matter, not everyone has had 30 kilos to lose or 40 kilos or whatever, but they've all started at the gym because they were unhappy in some way with how their body looked or felt, or their health and fitness in some way. And they've all been in the position where they've been in that strange environment. So everybody's going to welcome you to the gym. If it's a gym that doesn't do that, get another gym, because that's not somewhere you want to be for the long term. You want to be in a supportive environment. The same with weight training. Obviously, don't go in and start trying to squat 1,000 kilos if you haven't been to the gym before. Go in, learn the technique. Maybe watch some videos on YouTube about how to squat. Go and do some bodyweight squats, go and do some bodyweight deadlifts, press ups, that sort of thing. work up very slowly into the workouts. Don't go in there thinking you're going to lift all this weight right at the beginning, because the body has got to lay down those pathways. It's got to lay down the neural pathways to be able to lift the weight correctly. Same as riding a bike, same as doing any activity where you've got to learn processes about how your muscles and joints work together. It's got to lay down those processes. If you go there too fast and too quickly, there's too much to learn and end up injuring yourself because you haven't got the balance and capabilities to be able to do it properly. So start off with very small things, aim very low. How can I get my fitness up very slightly? By lifting a little bit of weight, doing a little bit of exercise, and I'll come back the next time. I haven't injured myself, I haven't done anything which has caused me to ache too much. I'll come back and do a little bit more next time, and a little bit more. And what you'll find is that if you are doing this thing for the first time, you'll get results very, very quickly, because it's a new stimulus, it's a new environment for you to be in, and the body does start to adapt very, very quickly to that stimulus. And what happens is it lays down the neural pathways to your muscles and to your brain to say, I am someone who exercises, I am someone who eats healthier, I am someone who whatever the thing is you want to accomplish. And you start to then absorb that identity and become that identity. And many people who I've worked with who have been very overweight, very unfit, have eaten really bad food, are now in a position where they're over here, where they're now exercising regularly, they're mindful of what they're eating, they still enjoy the odd, curry and ice cream and everything else, but they know exactly what that impact of that food is going to have on them, and they control it and they're very mindful of it. And they now have a different persona, they have a different outlook on life. When they go on holiday, when they go to the all-you-can-eat holiday place, they eat because and eat to their fullness, not because they want to gorge and overeat themselves. When they're going to the gym, they exercise properly. They're not confused with what they're doing, because they've changed their mindset from being someone who wasn't really concerned about their health and fitness and ate all they could, to someone who now is mindful of what they're eating and is very mindful of their exercise. But that change doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch, and no matter what people tell you, you do have to build those pathways and build those pathways in your brain to be able to become that person. And once you adopt these more desirable rather than good habits, better habits, more desirable habits, once you start to adopt those, they become easier to do than what you were doing before, because they're the things you do more often. So the brain diverts to them as its normal procedures. And what you'll find is, once you've been doing those for a long period of time, it's actually very hard to go back to where you were. You probably won't order the 3 pizzas that you were eating beforehand or whatever. You would just order 1 pizza, and you couldn't even see yourself ordering that much food, because you've laid down this new identity. That takes time. And this is why I say to people when they're coming to work with me or whatever, and they ask, how much do you charge a month? It's not about how many months can you do to get away with this. You've got to think about, it's a 6-month progress. It's a 6-month time period from where you are now, where you're undesirable, where you want to be, where you are and you're undesirable, to where you want to be. That's the desirable outcome. People say, how much is it for a month, 2 months? It's like, you're not going to change anything in that time. Okay, I may be able to get you eating right and training right and everything else after 8 weeks. That's about the bare minimum. But that's not enough time really to lay down those processes that they become instinctual. And what I refer to in this is there's a few stages you go through in order to achieve this sort of like Jedi-like knowing what you're doing right all the time. And 8 weeks is not enough time to achieve that. You have to be doing something consistently for, I would say, 4 to 5 months minimum, in order that is now the person you're becoming. 8 weeks is okay, but you still need to be really mindful if you're doing past that time. 6 months, 5 months, that's about where you need to be aiming to. You need to be thinking about, this is a long-term change, because if you've lived 4 or 5 years as someone who has 30 kilos to lose, you're not going to drop that, you're not going to lose all that, and you're not going to change that mindset in 8 weeks. It has to be a long-term thing. So once you've aimed very low and hit those targets, those things build up, and then they become these big things that actually, you're looking back, you go, whoa, how was I even that person? Because now I'm doing all these things right. But if you don't start at the bottom and build those little processes, you'll never get to those big processes, which actually they're the things that make the big achievements. But you don't get the big achievements without the small things at the beginning, which is my principle 6, is incredible acts start with small actions. So hopefully there's something for you to take away, there's something to think about. What is the smallest thing you could do today to move you towards your long-term goal? If you're looking to lose weight, what's the smallest thing you could cut out of your diet, which you eat regularly? Say like a pack of crisps or some biscuits or whatever. Can you eat half a pack of crisps? Can you eat one biscuit instead of 3 with your tea? Those sorts of things. Those are the small actions I'm talking about. I'm not talking about changing your diet overnight. You know, that doesn't happen. You won't do that because you haven't laid down those processes. But what's the smallest thing you could do today to move you towards that goal? Could you have a protein shake in the evening to get your protein levels up? Could you do another exercise or another set of something or another exercise with your workout in order to bump up the calories? Could you do an extra day where you go in and just do 10 minutes? Or could you do 10 minutes of home workout? You know, all these things, these little things you can add, because once you've added them in and they're starting to become habits, then you can build on them. So to take away from this today, what's the smallest thing you could do today to move you towards that long-term goal? Have a think about that. Hope the video's been good. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hopefully I didn't waffle on too much because there's a lot of stuff to think about there. If you liked it, why don't you, well, if you did like it, why don't you like the button or press the button or whatever to say like. And if you want to hear more of my ramblings, why don't you just hit subscribe button, and every time I dump one of these videos onto YouTube, you'll get a little notification that says, hey, Tom's got some more stuff for you to listen to. Okay, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and appreciate your time. Thanks, bye.